Hello, we're back. I am Pastor Jen at Gashland, and this is
Matt Martz. I'm also at Gashland.
yes. And so we're going to finish up our conversation that we had that's based on yesterday's sermon over gifts and passions. If you've not had a chance to watch that, you can go to gashlandumc.org/messages and check that one out. So one of our questions today, we're just going to jump right on in, is what is something that you do well and enjoy doing? Matt?
Well, for me, I like to teach.
Mm.
I don't know that I always do it well because I always am critical of how I do it, but I enjoy working with especially youth, but anyone who wants to learn something new.
Yeah. I think for me, something I do well.
I think you're a good writer.
I do like to write, and often I feel like I'm my best at writing when I'm going through something, which is kind of sucky. You have to be going through something to have your best writing. But I do like to write. I like to write blogs and stuff like that. I have a blog. I don't normally share it, so I'm not going to say what it is. But I do like to write. That is what my undergrad is in, is English and writing and stuff. So it's
But I think that gift and passion kind of flow over into your sermons, because when you write sermons, I mean, you get to use some of that creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there something that you do well that you don't maybe enjoy? That's not on our list. I just threw that question out.
Yeah. Well, I do things like, as a superintendent, I did things and I enjoyed them at the time, but let's say this, I got pretty good at doing a budget and finances and stuff. I did not enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
But I could do it and I did it well. I took a district that had very little money in reserve, and by the time I left, they had at least 40% of the budget in reserve, so that if anything happened, they had a rainy day fund to depend on.
Mine is singing.
You don't like doing that?
No, it gives me so much anxiety.
You're so good though.
I know, and people, my family, really, when I say people, give me trouble about it because they're like, "You're just so good. Why wouldn't you want to do it all the time?" I'm not great at it. But it gives me such anxiety, and so
as an introvert, that's
and one of my daughters is the same way. She likes to sing. I like to sing, but performance is what gives us some anxiety. I have no trouble getting in front of people to talk about anything else, but the singing gives us great anxiety. What are some things social justice issues that really fire you up or bother you?
For me, it's children and older adult issues. Okay, to me, they are at the opposite ends of society, and when either one of those populations are not being cared for, I think we've failed as a community, a church community, as well as a societal community. So anything that deals with making sure the care and provisions are available for children, because in order to be successful, they have to have a good start. And then for our older population, they've worked hard, they've given their time, and then to end up at the end of your life in poverty or having to struggle to make ends meet is just not right. So those are the two things that really, anything that deals with children and the older population.
Yeah, I think similar. I think I have similar thoughts on those. I have children and I've worked with children, and I do think that they need a good healthy start to be successful further on. Education is a big one. I've seen my kids go through school, and not know some things I think they definitely should be knowing. And so education would be one. But I'm also really passionate about suicide awareness because my mom committed suicide. And so that's something that I'm aware of and always looking at in people and making sure people are just okay. So that's something probably for me. Also, people experiencing hunger and homelessness with my job, for sure. We're always helping people with those two things. And people shouldn't be hungry and people shouldn't be homeless. I don't know. I don't have a solution, to be honest, but they just you shouldn't have to live your life that way.
Yeah. You want me to take a question?
Sure.
Do you have a sense, have we done this one? Do you have a sense of spiritual gifts?
Yeah, I can never remember all of them, like the order, like the top three. But I do know my top one is evangelism, which surprised me because I do think I call myself an ambivert because I can be extroverted when I need to be, but I'm generally introverted. So ambivert kind of mixes both. So
is that a real word?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I like
I mean, I might have made it up. I'm not sure. But so when I took my spiritual gifts assessment and I got evangelism, I was like, what?
Right.
No. But I do realize that I'll talk to anybody about anything. And I like to talk about how Jesus has affected me and my life and my story. So I can kind of see that.
Yeah, I definitely see it. I definitely see that in you. For me, the spiritual gifts that tend to rise to the top are teaching and leadership. And while I feel like I've tried to use those gifts in the public school setting, I'm now trying to see how I can use those more in the church setting. And so I'm working on that. But I've also taken several items and spiritual gifts. I've taken it a couple times, and other things do pop up every now and then. And service is one, those kinds of things. And I think I use them. I just don't know if I'm using them always the way God wants me to use them.
Right. Yeah.
It's one thing to know your gift, and it's another thing to apply your gift.
Apply your gift. Yes. I would agree with that. That's a good way to say it. Let's see what else we have. Have you I liked the question. So we asked this question yesterday. Where is it? If you had what was it, $1 million? Thank you. If you could give $1 million to someone or something, what would it be? Why? And what would you want them to do with the money?
We had a lot of good answers yesterday.
Yes, including someone said a boat.
Yeah, well,
a boat.
Jesus preached on a boat.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess I really am passionate about our money that we give to the Methodist Church. The greater, what is it? Apportionments.
Yeah.
And I know people sometimes look at that as a tax or whatever. To me, I look at it as an investment because what the money is just a small portion of what we have here at our local church. And we use local funds to support local things. But if we could have a balance of money to give to apportionments that could then continue to do all the great work that all of the subcategories of apportionments do, I think that would be awesome. I really like the little girl who said, give it to the church.
Give it to
that kind of touched me because, she's one of our youngest members, but she sees the good work that we're doing already.
Yeah. So. I think I'm super interested in the mini homes or whatever that you can put up for as transitional housing for people experiencing homelessness.
What a great idea.
And they also have the shipping container ones too that I've seen. So I think that would be cool to do if someone gave me money. That's probably what I would do with it. The apportionments thing, the thing I think is interesting about apportionments is it's not any different than the budget at the local church, really. A portion of that does go to pay for our electric and staff, which is the same with apportionments, but the bulk of it is mission and programming. And so that's not any different than apportionments. The bulk of it is going to missions and scholarships for people, and which is good. Core and all kinds of other things.
Yeah. Sometimes I think we don't fully understand what those things are.
Yeah.
And so maybe in the future we'll.
UMC, I see an option here, an opportunity to market apportionments and what they do better to the local churches.
Yeah.
That would be if the UMC is watching, which I'm sure they're not. But if you are.
All right.
Let's see. Have you used your gifts and talents to benefit others?
Well, I hope so. I hope that the lives that I've touched in the work that I've done with children and youth, I'm hoping they are growing up and being productive members of a local church. I go back in a Wesley United Methodist. We were there for like 8 years. There was a young man, he's 3, but very involved in everything that we did growing up because his mom would come. And anyway, I saw him this past year, and he's grown up and he's still helping serve at the church. He was helping with their turkey noodle dinner or whatever they did at Thanksgiving, and it looked natural.
Yeah.
It didn't look like he was forced to be there,
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I want kids to understand that you pour in, I've poured into you. The Lord's kind of hopefully come into your life. Now you have to respond. And we talk a lot about call and response. And so part of that response is serving other people.
Yeah. I think evangelism for me is me being able to be vulnerable with my story, especially like with my mom and how she passed, and being able to tell people that, right? And how Jesus came in. And so I think that's how I use my gift.
I absolutely love that. And I've actually, I guess maybe I never processed it, but my dad tried to kill himself and he wasn't successful. Praise God. But I had to deal with all those feelings still. Like I didn't fully understand. I was only in 6th grade and that kind of thing. And I never thought about, I'm going to spend some time reflecting on how God brought me through that process.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that could help my story.
Yeah. Well, and I think anytime we struggle or we're having or suffering, grief, whatever, of course, it's easier to reflect later where God was in those situations, but God is still there, even if we refuse to see that, still walking with us, still giving us wisdom and guidance and loving us, which is awesome. I don't know. One more question. You want to pick which question you have left?
Oh, let's see. I'm going to make a question.
Okay.
We talked yesterday about the I see in you. And I'm wondering, how are you planning to have us continue to do that, have those conversations?
Yeah. So we talked about yesterday, I see in you conversations. I did not dream that up. That comes from a book, Hero Maker book, and I don't know where he got it. So don't attribute it to me. But we talked about these conversations that you have with others when you want to talk to them about their passions and their gifts. And so rather than just saying, hey, I need a volunteer to greet people at the door, we have these conversations to see, well, who really has a passion for greeting people or hosting or anything like that would be really good at the door because that's their given talent and gift. So the IC&U conversations are what you would have with people then to see what their passions are. Maybe they have a passion for singing or technology or, I don't know, making food in the kitchen. And then you match them to those rather than just asking, for a volunteer, which is what we often do.
Yeah.
And so I hope that in the coming months, not only am I having these conversations, these IC&U conversations with people in our church, but also our church members are having these conversations with people in our church so that we're all a part of that. We're all recognizing people's gifts and talents, not just the pastor, which I think is very helpful because, pastors aren't always at a church forever and we move around. So you really do need church members to kind of be part of that and know. So when a new pastor comes, you can say, hey, this person has a passion for this and you should talk to this person and they might be able to help you better in that. I just think it's something, and I say in our church, but honestly, I mean, you can have those conversations with people outside of your church.
Exactly. And that's what I was thinking for the people at home. If you're watching us and you haven't been in the church building and, find that person that has that relationship with you and just say, hey, what gifts do you see in me? And then see if those match up with what you see in yourself, and then figure out a way to use those gifts that God has given. I just think it's so cool when we talk about God knew me before I was even born, and he was instilling all these gifts, and then he calls us to use them. Yeah. And that's a lot of responsibility, and it's don't you think?
Yes, it is a lot of responsibility,
but it's also a joy.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't know really that you have those gifts or passions until somebody points that out. Hey, you're really good at that, and maybe you thought you were good at it, or kind of good at it. But when someone points that out, which is what happened to me, I had someone say, how come you're not a pastor? You'd be a really good pastor. And I was like, no, I wouldn't. I'd be horrible at it.
She's good.
And here I am. So sometimes you just need people to affirm or reaffirm maybe what you are already thinking, or let you know, that you do have those talents and passions.
And you know what? Somebody that can see your gifts in other people, that's a gift.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
And so, God probably is wanting you to use that gift to let other people know. So, and to me, it's just reaffirming as a person to have somebody tell you once in a while that, you're really good at something.
Yeah. We're no different than teenagers, really. They want affirmations too, that they're doing good jobs. And so do we as adults, right?
Absolutely.
Kids are the same way. You want to know that what you're doing is having an impact and that you're doing a good job. I just think everybody wants to know that.
Absolutely.
All right, friends, we're done for today. We hope that you catch us next week on Wednesday at 6:00 on Facebook or YouTube. And as always, you are always welcome at our church. It's 10 a.m. on Sundays, Gashland United Methodist Church, 7715 North Oak Traffic Way in Kansas City. You can also catch us on the live stream. That is also on Facebook and YouTube and on our website at gashlandumc.org. Hope you have a wonderful day.